Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, DJ Adam Cruz, and I have my fantastic co-host here,
Eddie Nicholas. What up, beautiful people, and welcome to another session of Capital Radio 91.6 FM. Adam, you brought up some topics. You were talking about one just prior to that. What is the little catchphrase you were talking about?
I was talking about how, first of all, the Freedom Radio Hour is here. Let our listeners and our viewers know what's going on. We're here to give you not just great music, but music, business news, and trends from around the globe. What we're talking about are two main topics. Just recently, Neilson Soundscan. You know, I don't know if you remember the name. Does that ring a bell to you, Neilson Soundscan?
Yes, Neilson. They used to do the television ratings.
Yes,
correct?
they do. Yes, they're a television ratings company, but they have broadened for many, many years now to other things. They start to rate mobile devices and satellite transmissions and so on and so forth. Neilson has just issued a report that starts to answer the question of why people aren't buying music anymore. First of all, out of the world's population, think about how big the world is. What percentage of the world is buying music? I know, you start to laugh already. Think about that. Of the world's population, how much of that population is buying music?
And it's not even a great big fraction because the world is huge and a lot of people don't have internet, radio, or television access or any of that access. So that's one of those little questions where, I don't know, to throw out a figure, 10% of the world.
Less than 1%.
What? Oh my goodness, I was way off.
Less than 1% of the world's population is
music.
purchasing music. Right now at thefreedomradiohour.com, we have posted a series of articles that shows you, including graphics, graphs, and other, infographics, they call them, that starts to break down some of this information. It's quite fascinating. On the other side, you have the music industry that had this upbeat step, They've been walking out of their recent earnings calls quite pleased with themselves. So we start to figure out what is happening here in the world.
But wait a minute, that can't be the artist walking out happy like that. It can't be the artist.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. It's right now, reportedly, that one of the heads of Warner Music Groups has just come out of one of his earnings calls, feeling quite content to talk about how there's amazing growth happening in the way of income regarding streamed music. So out of the U.S., the Neilson Soundscan issues this report to talk about why people aren't buying music. It's divided into several categories. If you can guess, say 3 reasons why people don't buy the music.
One is it's already free. It's already accessible. You can get, if you want it, you can get it.
This is back to this idea of freemium. You remember that? Now people, it's basically a term that was coined after a trend that occurred where the consumers were treating music like it ought to be free. So they developed this freemium, a way in which you can start free and then pay into a product so that at least they get your money eventually. And it, to a certain degree, it curtailed piracy. But that was a big problem for us artists because in all that time and all this freemium exchange of music, this free trial that they give to customers, we aren't seeing any royalties that are paid out. It's after fighting and after addressing it, they had to amend these agreements. So now that we are earning royalties on free. Why? Because now they've added ad revenues behind it, so now they can pay out. And through that, they build a subscription base. You know that Spotify has jumped double. They're at 200% growth from last year. They're now at 20 million subscribers right now. And out of that subscribers, that they're saying that this is an exciting time. Why? Because you have Apple Music coming out. They represent about 80 to 100 million people. That's their base. That's a humongous number. That's basically making it the powerhouse now. And out of that, they're saying that opens the world for us to make a lot of money. So what they're doing when they're coming out of this call is they're getting really happy at the prospect of growth around income. For the first time, the head of Warner Music Group said that after his call, he realized the report came back that for the first time, streaming income surpassed downloads for them for the very first time ever, We're going to take a break, and when we come right back, we're going to break further this idea of what Neilson Soundscan had to say. And of course, we're going to address our second topic, which is why are these industry insiders so upbeat about an industry that you and I are shaking our head at because we aren't seeing any of the rewards, the benefits of our hard work, which is creating the music. Let's take a break right now. We'll return where?
Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan.
Don't miss it.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
What up, beautiful people, and welcome back to Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan. I'm your host, Eddie Nicholas, and I'm sitting up here with my fantastic co-host, Mr. Adam
Cruz. We're live and direct on the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your number one source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. Before we broke, we were talking about the latest in some music business news that's been coming out. Primarily, there's in the U.S. there's the Neilson Soundscan ratings that existed for a long time. We talked about it used to be primarily known for rating TV, so you could get ratings around how many people watch TV shows, for example. But now they've broadened out, and now they've issued a report that starts to answer the question of why people aren't buying music. So the good news first. The good news is that the report came back that 75% of the people that they surveyed listen to music regularly throughout their week. We've known that.
We all do that.
Yeah, we all do that. But there are three main problems that they're noticing, and they broke it down like this.
And this is in reference to
the report that talks about why consumers listen to music but choose not to pay for it. Okay? So there's three categories, three kind of findings, if you will. The first is about half of the people they surveyed say that the service is too expensive. Let me say that again. About half of the people say the streaming service is too expensive. So we're talking like Spotify is $10 a month. So about half of the people they're surveyed, let's not say it's just Spotify, there are others that with comparable prices, they're saying that's too expensive.
well, at the end of the year, if you look at dollars and cents, what is that? We got 12 months a year, that's $120.
Yes, but the thing about, yes, you're right about that. That's $120.
If people start looking at it in that, excess of, how much things cost, and that's another $120 towards the bill that is really a bill that a lot of people can do without. So I can understand why people are saying it's too expensive, because at the end of the year, that $120 could be going into something else.
Well, that's about what half of the people are saying according to this Neilson report. The second thing that they're saying, about half of the people that, the remaining half, so to speak, are saying that, why do you want me to pay for it? Because I can find it free elsewhere. That means that there are so many website portals out there that you can basically search a name, a song title, and it comes right up. You don't have to pay anything in order to listen to it in its entirety a lot of the time. It's not even like a little snippet or something. So about 40-some% of the people that they surveyed indicate that they don't want to pay for something that they know they can find for free elsewhere.
And on top of that, I do remember at one time, I don't know if they did something to stop it, but at one time, if you had Real Player, you could go to YouTube and download anything that you want in the Real Player.
Yes. So now we've talked about this in previous episodes where now everyone has become their own curator. So now instead of the album, they listen to playlists. So they'll pick a song from the album and then they'll pick a lot of other songs and make their own little playlist, and that's what they'll listen to on repeat all day long. The remaining percentage of the people that they surveyed, let's see, was those that wanted to have it for free, those that thought it was too expensive, and the remaining we're talking about, they don't think that they use the service enough. That was the big takeaway. They didn't think they'd use the service enough to warrant that $120 a year when you think about an annual cost. So now we're starting to think about, okay, you have to place value on art at some point. We've been so devalued since the inception of digital music. We're starting at this 99 cents per download base, and we can only go up in these small little increments. We're only at $1.29 now. This is years and years later. So how can we speed up the progress? How is it? Yeah, go ahead and talk about it, man. We need to get this out.
Well, first of all, again, I keep saying when they devalue the music and put the price down to 99 cents, music should have never ever been allowed to go down that far. We used to go and buy singles for $5.99 in vinyl form.
That's right.
So, you know, there was a time when you had to actually go out and you had to really spend money for all this stuff. Now with it being devalued, it's like people don't give a crap anymore. So therefore they go, and if I can get it free, all I can do is search it out. Like you said, type in something, it pops up. There you go. If you have the proper equipment, whether it says you can't download it or not, there's always a way around everything.
But what about one of the findings that there's a large percentage, almost half, that say that the music ought to be free?
Well,
let's take a break. Ponder that. Let's take another break, and we'll come right back right here on the Freedom Radio Hour.
Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
Freedom Radio Hour.
What up, beautiful people? Welcome back to Capital Radio 91.6 FM. I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Nicholas, and I'm sitting here with
Adam Cruz, and we're live and direct right here on the Freedom Radio Hour, your number one source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe.
Before we broke up, we were talking about some things with Neilson, with their ratings and what they're doing, and then we started talking about people and why they don't purchase music.
Right.
Let's fall back a little bit.
Yeah, so I think we were breaking things down into three categories. The findings found that first, a large portion of those that they surveyed felt it was too expensive. Streaming services were too expensive. My beautiful co-host Eddie was breaking it down on an annual cost. Even at the Spotify rate, which is currently at $10 a month, when you think of things on an annual basis, that's $120 a year. So now it doesn't become so teeny tiny anymore. The other point that a decent amount that was also surveyed said that, why do you want me to pay for something that I can find for free elsewhere? What's free? If you go and do a simple Google search for a song, chances are you'll find a link where you can listen to the song or watch the video associated with that song for free. You don't have to enter a credit card number, your PayPal information, nothing, to enjoy the benefit of that song or video. So about a decent chunk say that, why do you want me to pay for something I can get for free? The last indicate that they felt that they weren't going to use the services enough to warrant this $120 a year. Which, when you think about other products, let's not forget music for a second. What if it were something else, like I don't know, like a web domain or something like that. Some years you just go, I can't renew it, whatever. You know, like maybe that's a bad example, but I think if we think about it, there are other instances where people would want to reconsider an annual charge like $120. Especially in what you use as a good vehicle as an example, because with designing websites, yes, you can pay for them. At the same token, they have so many out there that allow you to do it for free, or for a much more nominal rate than say what it used to be. It used to be thousands of dollars. As a huge daunting prospect to get a website designed, and now with the advent of social media and other tools, you can build a website for little to nothing right now. You know, and I think that's what the big elephant is in the room. And I think we were talking about the other piece of this topic, which is that our CEOs and our head honchos of these big labels are leaving their first quarter earnings calls very happy and very optimistic, because for the first time streaming income has surpassed download income, and so it's quite good news for U.S. companies. However, that's not trickling out to the artists.
Exactly.
In past episodes, we've talked about how contracts get leaked, and we started to see some of the figures related to how we make money. You know?
And as we find that a lot of it is in favor of the people who are running these businesses. As again, you know, the trickle down effect to the artist is not happening quick enough, or the compensation is not enough where people can actually afford to make a living, unless you're one of those big superstars. You know, where traveling and your endorsements and all of that other stuff comes into play. But for us average people, you know, that are out here, independent artists that are out here, you know, basically struggling and, again, selling stuff from the trunk of our cars and all of that type of stuff, it's not easy, because, again, you have to have people that want and value and don't mind spending that money for a good product. You know, we have a couple of artists where, you know, people may spend that money on that product, but at the same token, after that lull is gone, that's it.
That's right. And I mean, and there's two big points that have come out. They're talking recently more about windowing. We've talked about that previously, where why can't we, like in the movie business, why can't we go ahead and put something out in one way and then later on it's available somewhere else. You know how like a movie comes out in the theater first and then it comes out on, say, Netflix later? They was talking about that more, and I want to see what the ideas are. It doesn't seem like anyone has any clear ideas about how to get there with that idea about windowing. But the other big takeaway is, okay, so we are feeling very optimistic about streaming and what the future might be for the income. Now when you put Apple Music into play, you're talking about another 80 to 100 million subscribers that is bringing big revenue back to the labels and the rights holders. So that does affect us. But the big problem here is, how is this what are the implications here? What are the lasting effects? You know, we start to think about, okay, all this money that's being made, but the contracts aren't being updated. One of the artists, one of the big name artists, I forget his name, but he'll be posted, was talking about the Apple Music was recently valued at 70 times what the global music's worth is. Let me say that again. Apple, the company, is valued at 70 times larger than the entirety of the global music market.
Which again is crazy, and we have spoke about this before, and I told you the only way we as artists are going to be able to make money is if we are sitting at that table when they're sitting with these corporations and getting these endorsements. How do we capitalize and get a chunk
of that, right?
Of that
but also, how do we increase the value of the perception of this? Because when you think about that, when Apple is valued at 70 times that of global music, it's kind of like the equivalent of music is the equivalent of like the lighter sold at a convenience store register. It's the tiniest part of their business, and we're forgetting that. You're making a very valid point, Eddie, about us strengthening our lobbying power with respect to this pricing, but it's a little too late because these prices now can only go up incrementally. It's not like we started at a higher rate. I'm not saying let's throw in the towel. I do think that while we're seeing a lot of growth, and even other Nordic countries are enjoying a resurgence in their music business because of streaming. So there is a lot of growth in other areas of the world. We're just not seeing it coming into our pocket.
No,
the music creators themselves.
And so again, we have to find a way when they're sitting down and making those contracts. You know, just my suggestion is that we find a way to make sure that our names get in. Whenever you get a new whoever endorser or whatever, and they're playing within my music set, or you're using my music to help push their product, because again, as we said before, music has now become a backdrop.
That's right.
And a background to sell everything else, to sell other products. You'll get a song, but it's not for the song.
It's become a necessary and personal thing that you ignore. You need it, but you ignore it too.
Well, you know what, beautiful people, our time has just about ended here on Capital Radio 91.6 FM, but check out us again next week, because we're going to have some wonderful topics that are going to be discussing again the streaming. You know, we may come back and talk about what we just talked about as far as Neilson.
Yep, well, more about reports, more about the big shifts that are occurring in the business, but definitely check out freedomradiohour.com. I want you guys to check out that Neilson Report. We posted it there. We posted other articles regarding streaming and the wars that are going on. I want you to leave a comment under everything that we're posting, because we love to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Check out EddieNicholas.com, DJAdamCruz.com, and let everybody know that this is where the music business news is at, and all that good music is at.
That's right here. Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan. Boom, 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 boom.
I see the love